Welcome, greetings of the day, everyone. Good to finally get to this point where I'm interviewing my guest today. So this is Cherry Hive Facebook Live. If you've not been on here before, this is a live show that we do on Facebook. I interview some very talented ladies who do some great things in their business to help other business people do well with their businesses. So that's how it works. Now, before I introduce my guest and I bring her in, I want to talk to you about, because today's show is about talking about PR. It's talking about marketing your business through PR and especially through PR in the media, the mass media. So everybody's on here is pretty familiar with marketing your business, promoting yourself through social media. Some do it, I've got to be honest, much better than others. And, some people need a bit more help with it, I think, personally, and I do too. I'm not perfection at it at all. But I want to just talk to you about cracking nuts, right? So there's many ways to crack a nut, isn't there? Of course. If you were brought up as a kid and in your Santa's sack, there was a bag of nuts which had the shells on still. You had many ways in which you could get those shells off to get to those nuts. And what wasn't it a pain in the arse, to be honest, to have to crack your own nuts? Why the hell did parents think that was a great idea? Hey, anyway, so there's many ways, some more efficient and effective than others at marketing your business to get the results that you want, to be productive in your business. But let's go back to nuts. Nuts can be cracked in many different ways. You can spend time doing it yourself. Some people in my family used to crack them with their teeth or smash them with their hands. It can hurt, so be careful out there if you try that technique. But most of us buy a tool to crack our nuts. We outsource the ability to crack our nuts with things that leverage that ability to eat the nut in the end. So the idea is that we used to, but do you know what, to be honest, we had many tools in our family and some were more effective than others and some were more efficient than others in terms of getting to the nut inside without us having to spend tons of time sifting through all the shells from the nuts. You'll know what I mean. You'll know what I'm talking about, everyone, if you have had to do this as a kid. And so not only are you spending a lot of time using the wrong tool for the job and potentially having to buy in terms of money, buy lots of new kind of nuts because you can't sift the nut from the shell. So you give it up as a bad job and go out and buy some new ones. But you're kind of wasting a lot of energy too. You're wasting energy in terms of, first of all, kind of not getting the right tool for the job. So it's not being done efficiently, but also in terms of, think of the frustration, the disappointment, and all the energy that you put into throwing those nuts and shells around the room because you're just tired of doing it. It is just one of those things. So very relevant. You'll think, where's she going with this? But of course, it's very relevant to today because we're talking about marketing your business, promoting your business. Promotion is right at the top of the kind of funnel, which we'll talk about today with my special guest, Annette Densham. And the thing is that you can't just go in these days and afford to just pitch to everyone and sell your wares because it doesn't work. People don't buy that anymore. You earn your right to sell. And to do that, you've got to promote yourself first and add value and build relationships with the people that potentially could be at some point, even not now, but maybe down the line, could be your audience. So and then move them down the funnel to actually begin to sell them and talk about what you do. So hello to some people this morning. Hello, Sonia. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Sheila, hello. Good to see you. Welcome. And thanks, Alison, for joining us. So we've got a few people on board. I know a lot of people don't watch this straight off. They do come later. So, yeah, I'm going to bring my special guest in now because she's waiting in the green room. She's all rugged up in her shed, because it's absolutely freezing down there in Ipswich. But, I'm so glad that she took the time out today to come and join us because this is it's going to be a great show. Because you're going to get lots of insight into how you can actually do better with your promotion and potentially leverage a whole mass media, how good would that be to, make your business a success? So without any further ado, we're gonna bring in my special guest, Annette Densham. Good morning, Annette. How are you? Apart from being cold.
I am fantastic, Karen. My feet are frozen. My hands are just warmed up because I keep sitting on them. But yeah, good. I'd say the cold keeps you on your toes because you're constantly moving.
That's it. That's the whole point of this cold weather snap, is to kind of get you moving, right?
Yeah, moving I am, absolutely.
Good morning, Wayburn. Thanks for joining us. So we've got a few people on board today. If you've got any questions, do ask Annette while she's here, because you don't get this great opportunity to ask her any questions. So Annette, tell us a little bit about you and what got you to doing what you do today. Like, what's the kind of inspiration behind what you do?
My inspiration to do what I do started when I was a kid. And I know there's not many people who at 10 go, I know exactly what I want to do. But we used to move around school, like move around houses and states a lot. So I went to lots of different schools. And it might be hard to believe now, but I was a pretty shy, quiet kid. And I got picked on a lot because I was always the new kid. I was tall, I was big than most other kids. So you can imagine the bullying that I underwent. So I used to spend a lot of time in the library, and I love reading. I'm a voracious reader. I still am. And, it was around 10 that people start saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I went, well, my mum wanted me to be a doctor, but I'm not that good at maths. So it was like, nah, that's not going to do it. So I started researching, and then I found this word journalist. And I looked up what it meant, and it meant that you could research, talk to people, and write stories. And I went, that'd be so cool. So everything I did from that moment on was to become a journalist. So I did become a journalist, and I've written for, the Financial Review, the Australian, the Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph, and lots of publications in between. And, when I had my kids, I stopped working, and then when I went back to work, I went into corporate communications, which was really kind of cool. I could use those skills. I worked in the not-for-profit space, so I was able to share their stories with the wider audience, which helps bring in more money and awareness. And then 5 years ago, there was a financial restructuring, which meant that the marketing department was said farewell to. And it was like, what am I going to do? Seriously. And I went, well, you know what? I'm pretty good at this storytelling stuff. There's so many small businesses out there who really have no idea how to use this or what to do or where to start. I'm going to go into PR. So I went over to PR, and 5 years later, my passion for storytelling has not waned. And I'll absolutely get off on taking someone who says, I don't really have anything to share, to giving them this huge list of stories and where we can pitch them to, and then getting to work and doing that.
That's an awesome story, eh? All in a nutshell. Haha, here's the theme today, nutshells. Hey, that's the thing I was going to ask you, right? Because a lot of people say, and even I've said it, and people I know have said it, but I haven't got anything worth talking about in the papers and the magazines. I don't have a story. I mean, all I am is me, and I want to sell my business. I want to make a living from it, so I don't have to work for an employer, right? So what is it that people have got to, what's the mindset, or what do they need to do in order to be able to say, okay, I could give this a shot. I've got something I could work up, maybe a small way right now, but maybe I could do something with it. Like, where do they start?
Look, Karen, the first place to start is what goes on between here and here, because when we tell ourselves that we've got nothing to share, we're actually devaluing our expertise and devaluing the whole reason that we're in business. Like, if you didn't have a solution to someone's problem, why would you bother opening your door and going into business in the first place? So that's the first clue, is that you're in business to solve a problem. What's the solution? There's a whole series of stories that you can share and tell with your prospective clients, the audience, to engage them and like let them in on the fact that you're actually pretty good at what you're talking about. You know what you're doing and how you're doing it, and that they should be doing business with you. So you know, and I think the next thing is why we don't share stories is another thing that goes on between here and here, particularly in this country, is we believe that if we do tell our story or we do put ourselves out there promoting ourselves, that people are going to see it as that we're bragging or that we're showing off or that we're being bigger than our britches. And that's a real killer, particularly for women in business, because, you know, like we go about, you know, we kind of like do lots of things and we're very humble about it. We don't acknowledge our wins. And we're going, oh, you know, like when someone compliments you and you say, Karen, you look beautiful today. I really love that dress. It really brings out your eyes. And you go, oh, this old thing, you know, really, I just picked it up at St. Benny's. And it's like, seriously, just take the compliment and say thank you. So PR's the same, is that if you're not going to promote yourself, you're not going to back your skills and your expertise by letting people know you exist, then what's the point? You're just going to continue to be the best kept secret, and that's really no point at all. So stop right now, acknowledge that you're really awesome at what you do, that you have real solutions to people's problems, whatever they are, whatever industry you're in. There is a media outlet or media source that needs your content because their audience is your audience. So if you can give them stories that makes their audience happy, it's a win-win-win. Everybody's winning.
That's awesome.
The audience is getting solutions, the media outlet's getting solutions, and you're promoting yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome, because the thing is, I do think we let ourselves down a lot of the time in terms of our self-esteem and thinking that we're not good enough. Well, we see all these people with all these great stories in the newspapers and we think, oh, well, if only, you know, if only I was good enough to be there and do that. And it's only when you find yourself having done it and done that and you think, well, that were a piece of cake. I didn't have, why did I have so many hang-ups in doing that? That was easy, actually, in terms of, you just have to get over that first hurdle, don't you, in terms of doing that.
It's a bit like going to the dentist. So quite often you go and you think that it's just going to be the worst experience of your lifetime. But with some really good drugs, you know, it's actually not too bad and it's over really quick. And the result afterwards is pleasant. You know, your teeth are straight or they're white, or you get rid of the infection or whatever it is, you get a good result. So, and another way of thinking about telling your story is that nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes. And it's the same with like entering business awards. No one needs to know that you've nominated yourself. Or like we get so caught up in this, like it drives me batty, is that stop worrying about what other people think, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, they're not really thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. And any negative feedback they're giving you is really a reflection of where they sit in their world. So you just have to worry about yourself. So when you go to the media, pardon me, you pitch a story, they don't need to know that you did that, because the ultimate outcome, that perception that we're left with, is that that journalist, that online magazine, that podcaster, you know, whatever tactic you choose to use, has decided your story's worthy of telling and that they're going to tell it for you. That's called third-party credibility. That's pretty powerful stuff. And that's your ultimate goal.
That's awesome. Yeah. So don't be too kind of humble about this. Don't be too kind of worried about what other people think, is what we're saying here, in terms of, you know, you've worked pretty darn hard. Most of us have worked darn hard to earn that right to be in that newspaper. No matter what way we get there, you know, we're all getting there in our own ways for our own reasons, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there is, in my opinion, there's no room in small business for modesty or humbleness. Humility, yes. You know, absolutely. Regardless of where you go pitch your story to, I'm a big believer in that you need to be authentic and real in so much as when you're sharing that story, is that you're not coming from a place of manipulation or, you know, like it's purely just strategy, is that you've got a real desire and want to share what it is that you're sharing. You know, you want to inspire people, you want to motivate them, or you want to elicit some type of emotional response, you know, whatever that is, because you want them to take action. And ultimately, you want them to do business with you. But yeah, you can't be modest in small business, because, quite frankly, who else is going to promote your business for you? If you don't have the money to back it up and pay for a PR person or a marketer, you've got to do it yourself. So if you're sitting there going, "Oh, I can't do it," like, can I get it? Like, my background's writing about other people, promoting other people. And when I started my business, it was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Like, how am I going to tell people that I'm around? That I don't have any money for advertising, because I've worked with advertising, and it's like, I might need to go sell my kidney to do that.
Yes.
So I realised that I actually had to use my skill in PR to tell my story. Now, that was really uncomfortable, so I get it. Like, I am not a show pony. You know, I'm gregarious and I love to have fun, and, you know, I like to be the life of the party. But I don't like bragging about you just ask my husband. He'll tell you. Like, he's the one always promoting me and telling me, oh, I can relate. My nose is so blocked. And he goes, you know, we'll be at a party and people will go, so what's been going on? And I'll go, oh, you know, just working really hard and, you know, working on. And he goes, hey, you just won an award. You got this win for a client. You did this and you did this and you did this. And I went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I did. Yeah, it's been a good month. Yeah. And I've had to get better at doing that. You know, like, if you follow me on Facebook at all, I am not shy about sharing wins, because one, it underpins my credibility, because, hey, she knows what she's doing. And two, and I always encourage people to do this, I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. I'm just me. Like, I didn't even put makeup on this morning, because I don't normally wear makeup. Like, if you meet me, this is me. My hair is brushed. So, you know,
the authentic self.
It's about being real.
I think it is, and I think you got it there in terms of we're not all born real. We're not all born authentic, knowing exactly how we're going to do things, and we can do things well. It's something that we have to practice at. We have to learn to do this, and the only way to learn to do this is to put yourself through it, isn't it? And to do it again and again and again and again. And sometimes you get knocked down, and sometimes people don't like what you do or don't like the stories you tell. But from somewhere, you have to kind of find that sense of resilience to just stand up each time you get knocked down and just say, you know what, I'm going to do that better next time, or I'm going to do that differently next time, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really, whenever I get frustrated or, you know, infuriated or whatever, you know, emotion that's bringing me down, I go watch that scene from Rocky, where Rocky's talking to his son, who's like going, you know, do you have to go and do this fight? Like, you're embarrassing me. And he tells this story about, you know, when his child was little, and he says, you know, it ain't how hard you get hit. It's about how you get back up. Well, I've got goosebumps. Yeah. Because absolutely. That's just it. Life. That's
it is.
Everything. Like, you can whinge and sulk that you're not getting the results that you want, but at the end of the day, it's up to you.
It is. Unfortunately, as a small business owner, you're doing everything, and you've got to find somehow, if you can't do this yourself, is to find a way of leveraging other people's tools and methods and techniques and technologies to be able to get you to where you need to be. And I think PR is one of those things. I think we don't, from my experience of using social media, and, you know, we get a rag that lands on our doorstep every week, Koana Weekly or something like that it's called. I've been in there promoting myself and my business at some point, and I think everybody in this community has. But the point is, I don't read it anymore, because it is full of people doing things for charity. I don't know if you get this, but every story in there, they're not really being creative, I find. I wasn't when I was in there either, I've got to say. But I think, how do people, like every single story, one after the other, is people saying, I'm doing this, but I'm doing it for charity. I'm doing it for free. I'm doing it for nothing. Please come and help us. It's those kind of stories, but you get a bit tired of hearing those stories, don't you? And as a viewer, as an audience, as a listener, you kind of switch off because you've seen them now hundreds of thousands of times, and you start getting cynical because you know the agenda. So how can
it's
people,
charity?
Yeah.
Yes, it's charity fatigue.
How can people create a story that stands out from the crowd, that actually adds value and gives people something useful to, but at the same time building that relationship with you to potentially come and buy from and, come and use your services?
Well, I think that if you make the story about yourself, then that's where you lose people, if it's just all about you. I mean, that has its place. So say you win an award. So instead of making the story about, oh, Annette wins an award, yay, that's like how boring. Talk about what was it that the steps that you had taken to get to the point where you won the award. Like, what was the award for? How have you made a difference in the world that the judges looked at your award application, went, actually, you know what? This is worthy of recognition. Another really good way is, case studies. So if you've worked with someone, so I've often, like with clients, said, well, give me a client that is really happy with what you've done, and then we'll write a story about them and their achievements, and they'll mention you within it. So the stories are not about you, but you're still part of it. But like even with those stories of, the ones that you're going, oh my God, not another one, is that even if you pitch a story and you go, okay, well, I'm having a workshop, these are good for local publications. Talk about the reason why you're having the workshop. What was it? What have you seen that has made you realise that it's important? And just kind of mention the workshop. So you create the angle. So like, let's say your workshop is around, give me a topic.
Pain management.
Pain management.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about the impact of pain management on the reduced capacity to earn an income, and what the flow-on effect is for not just that person, but their family, and how it's potentially causing hardship, not just on the health system, but also on our welfare system. Find somebody that you could use as a talent. That's what we call it in media, the talent, the person that you're going to quote. Make it real life. So it's not just you going, blah, 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 this is how awesome I am. It's you're telling someone else's story.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, you would go, Karen's running a workshop at the Kawana Community Centre on Sunday at 6:30 to 7:30. Here's the link for that. Because, at the end of the day, a journalist is not there to promote your business. They're there to tell a story. So, and it's really easy to see what stories journalists like by looking at the publication or the outlet you want to be in and going, well, I can see they like these stories. And I'll go back to the point I was going to make, that if your story is just, hey, I've done this for charity and here's my result, that's one bite of the cherry. You can take that link or PDF and go and share it many times through social media, repurpose it into some other format. So you can reframe the story in whatever fashion you like, so you can continue to get interest in what you're doing.
Yeah. So there's some great learnings there, Annette, because what we're saying here is think of things beyond yourself. Think of the social, the economic, the political agenda that's going on at the time, and think of how potentially you can slot what you're doing, maybe very, very small in terms of your thinking right now, but how does it relate to the bigger picture of the environment, for example, or the education system, or the political system, or the social system? Like, how is it much bigger than you, and how can you connect with that so it makes it so that it's not just you promoting you and your business? Yeah,
absolutely. Now, like, you touched on something that I wanted to raise, and it's called newsjacking. So whenever I start working with a client, and anybody can do this, like I don't have, dibs on it, is go set up Google Alerts with your keywords. Like one, most importantly, is to keep track of what's going on with you, is set up Google Alerts in your name and in your business name so you can see if you get mentioned. And there's also another tool called, I think it's called Mention, which tracks your mentions on social media. So it's really good to keep a handle on what's being said about you out in the world. But then set up Google Alerts around your keywords. And then this is a really cool way to get either story ideas or to contribute to the current conversation, is let's just say, the federal government hands down $5 million in funding for pain management, which will go out across to pain management centres across the country, is that you can look at that and you go, actually, there's a flaw in their thinking, or I really support this and this is why. You can contact the journalist and say, I'm an expert in pain management. I work with this type of people. I've been doing it, establish your credentials. And here's my opinion on this story. Because, sometimes, not always, journalists are looking for a way to continue that story's news cycle, to keep it in the news, to add a different perspective on that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, some great tools there as well. I love tool hacking for sure. And the thing is that, again, it's not just about sending some kind of article to a journalist, is it? It's there's a lot more to it, that you can repurpose the material that you use in there, because you've done some research in terms of the actual stories that are in the news right now. You can write a whole bunch of blogs or podcasts, or put some kind of news links out on your social media profiles and pages and in groups and stuff. There's a whole kind of mass of stuff. I know it takes a lot of energy to do this, which is why it's great to be able to outsource this stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second.
So I crack your nuts. I love that.
Because if you're doing all this yourself, I mean, like, I think Sheila's said something here. Look, she says, I really wish I had a budget for PR. I do what I can within my own fatigue levels, and would love someone to help. Because the thing is, not everyone has got the knowledge of how to do this. Like someone like you is the journalist who's been in the system and been on the other side of the fence, knows what works in the system in terms of what sells newspapers. Why do people read what they read? But it also means that because it's someone else's job to do this, they do it much more efficiently and effectively than you could, I think, as someone who has never had to promote themselves in the media before. So I think there's a lot of investment that we have to put in order to, as small business owners, for this to work. And you got to look at the whole marketing strategy that you've got, don't you, and think, how is this going to work for my business? Is it going to work? Because I know I've got a business, one of my businesses, it works really efficiently and effectively without doing this. But some of the other businesses that I have and that we're looking to do quite soon are going to be reliant on the mass media for this. So I think it's about picking and choosing the right tool for the kind of marketing strategy that you've got, and not necessarily jumping in with both feet thinking, I'll just throw a stash of money at this because this is going to make me a superstar. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of investment, but outsourcing to someone who actually, or even having a conversation with someone like yourself who actually knows their stuff in terms of whether or not it would even be useful for your business. That's something that's definitely worth thinking about, isn't it?
I think if you're sitting there thinking, well, I know Sheila said that she wishes that she could afford someone to do it, and look, and I get money comes down to money so often, doesn't it? Money and time. And so my response to that is that sometimes it's not as expensive as what you think. I know particularly the way that I've set up Publicity Genie is that I know my target audience is small business, particularly women in small business, quite often solo women in small business. And I started off with these beautiful, lovely high retainers, and it's like, wow, this is great if I can get 10 clients on this. I'm not going to have to do anything. But it didn't suit my target audience. So,
Sure.
you know, I've dropped my prices, which much to the horror of a coach I had, it was like, what are you doing? It's like, but at the end of the day, I'm here to serve people. And
Sure.
if they can't afford me, then like I may as well just go back into corporate, you know, because while money is important, it's not my highest value. But, you know, someone who just mentioned Source Bottle. I noticed someone came up. Sheila mentioned Source Bottle's a really good way to keep within that space of PR, because as journalists, they're pitched story ideas all the time that you can leverage off. And I think another really important point, Karen, is when we're talking about public relations, media relations, is that I've decided that I'm going to reframe what PR is, and I'm going to call it influencer relations from now on, because the media landscape has changed, not just in the last 5 years, in the last 6 months, in the last 12 months. Mainstream media is no longer the only tool that you can use. You can influence people. And when I say influencer, I'm not talking about people you pay to write a post for you about your product. But influencers you're the influencer. And you can do that by guest writing for online publications. There's stacks of them out there that are always looking for content. Quite often they put their call-outs up on Source Bottle. You can use social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, to promote whatever it is that you're doing to tell your story. There's things like Medium, Quorum, Reddit, you know, all types of forums where you can go in, because at the end of the day, influencer relations is about dropping breadcrumbs, which all lead back to you. But to decide what you need to use is you really need to understand your target audience. Because if they're not on Reddit, then why would you waste your time? So, and that's a big mistake that people make, is thinking that, you know, all I'm going to do is focus on mainstream media and the morning TV shows. But if your target audience isn't watching that, it's really nice for your ego to get on Sunrise, and you can leverage it. But if you're going to continue to chase that and put effort into it, put your efforts into the right platform.
Sure. Stunning advice. And just before we finish, what makes the difference between being in the local rag and taking it to national, potentially international TV? Like, is there a special kind of tool or technique, or is it just about the look of the draw? Like, have you got the right story at the right time in the right place?
You hit the nail on the head. It's knowing your target audience, knowing the media outlet, so you can craft your pitch to that. So if you're pitching to the local paper, you take a local angle. But if you're pitching to a national magazine, then you're looking at it from a national perspective. Is your audience is bigger? And in terms of how people perceive that, that's the key word, perception. So people put a lot of stock in, you know, really well-known publications. But you know what? I've seen posts on Facebook where people will go, oh my God, I've just had my story in obscuremagazine.com.au. You've never even heard of it. It's like, who the hell's obscuremagazine.com? They've got like 10 readers. But from a perception point of view, you start leveraging that, sharing it with your connections. One, you help them because you increase their readership. But two, in the psychology of our minds, we're making all of these preconceived assumptions, and it's like, oh my God, that person's amazing because they've put themselves out there. Wow, isn't that awesome? There's some envy. There's some, like, for sometimes I see posts like that. It's like, okay, then I'm going to go out and I'm going to do one better. You know, that competitive side. So again, it all comes back to your target audience.
Yeah, and just thinking about that, you may only be in an article, a magazine or something that's got 10 people, but you only need one person in there to see you, to give you, to be seen, and it give you an opportunity. It could take you somewhere you didn't even think it could, right? So again, it's about our mindset, not having kind of self-limiting beliefs that just because you may only have a small audience, they may be so highly targeted to what you want. You know, in terms of being your target people, that you just never know. You never know where it could lead to. I think
Absolutely.
it's yeah.
I do lots of free speaking, so I speak at a lot of networking events.
Yeah.
And I never pitch anything. I just, go share my knowledge, and and I'm a big believer in the law of reciprocity, is that if someone wants to work with me, they'll find a way to connect with me, and then we can create something together. But I did this talk in Melbourne once, and I paid to fly down. I paid for my accommodation. I went and did this speaking gig, and there was it's 2 hours to Melbourne. That's 2 days away from my family. It cost me quite a few $100s. And here I am expecting this massive audience, and there was 15 people in the audience. And I was like, initially I went, oh, great, good, thanks. That's but I came away from that with $6,000 worth of business.
Awesome.
Because I had an intimate audience. I gave, I gave with the spirit of giving, and it came back to me. And I think if we were constantly in this business of going, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, and just going, where can I share my stuff? Who can I help? How can I help them? Be it a journalist, be it an online magazine, be it one-on-one with someone who rings you, is just give, and it'll come back to you. I know that sounds very airy-fairy, but I've seen it happen.
I've seen it happen. Yeah, I have had it too. And I'm a very giving person too. I love spending time with people who get value from what I do, and I don't always get paid at the time, but it comes back in droves later. So I'm totally a believer of that. Completely with you on that, Annette. So you've got some more comments going on there. We won't have time today to kind of look at all those, but they will be on the broadcast. So I'm sure Annette will come back to you afterwards and have a chat and respond to everything that you've been saying. And thanks everyone for tuning in and joining us, because I'm sure it's been used very incredibly useful, and I'm sure for all the people listening and all the people that watch, because a lot of people do watch after the show is being broadcast. So just to finish off, Annette, how do people get hold of you if they want to connect with you and get some consultation from you?
They can, there's so many ways. Let me count the ways. So there's Facebook private message. And if I don't get back to you straight away, I do get lots of messages every day, and sometimes it's like I just have to put my phone down. The best way to get a hold of me is via email. So it's annette@publicitygenie.com, or text me 04787 18041. I'll put that in the chat, or ring me. If I don't answer, text, because for some reason my voicemail's not working. No one can figure out why. If I don't answer, text me and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about PR, or now I'm calling it IR, influencer relations. And
awesome.
just let me know that you'd love to have a chat, and I get back to everybody. If I don't get back to you straight away, know that I will. And if I don't, remind me, because I'm a mum of 2, I'm a wife, I've got a business, I've got lots of clients, there's a lot going. Look at me and my pen. There's lots going on. So I do not, crazy. I'm like Harry Potter. I don't have a problem with people going, hey, I messaged you, get back to me. I'm human. Sometimes I miss things.
All righty, listen, I'm going to let you go and get warmed up and get you ready for your day. And it has been an awesome conversation today. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll have another chat sometime soon. Yes. All righty. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day, everyone. Bye. Bye. Okay, so I think I'm still here on the broadcast. And yeah, I just want to say what an awesome interview that was with Annette. The thing is that it might cost you a bit of money, a bit of time, a bit of energy in the short term, in terms of outsourcing your PR to someone, because you've got to find the right person. You've got to be able to afford their services. But I can assure you, Annette's going to be helping us with our business moving forward in the next few months. And I can assure you, every penny that you pay that person is going to come back to you in shed loads. I promise you. They know the business well, and they know the ins and outs, the tricks of the trade, the tools to get you in front of an audience, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a big newspaper, or whether it's being on TV. They really do know their stuff, but it's finding the right person. And I can assure you, Annette's a great person to connect with, because she does know her stuff. So I will put Annette's links in the document. I'm sure she'll put them too, in the broadcast rather, as we finish. Again, thanks to everyone for joining in, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.